as a follow-up to my Daimler 250 V8 versus Jaguar Mk2 video, I've got the opportunity to take this out. This is the Daimler 250 V8, just to see what it's like to drive. This particular one is an absolute beauty. Been very well looked after. Seems a little bit hesitant on the throttle, but equally that could be me. So we'll see how it goes. It's riding smoothly. There's a few speed bumps here, and the suspension's taking out any of the real bump out of it. And although it's a smooth car, you can still hear the V8. You can still tell it's a V8 engine underneath the bonnet. So it's the 2.5 litre Daimler engine, which, if you've seen the previous video that I made, which I'll link to, was derived from a twin motorbike engine, and effectively the design was just replicated to create a V8 from a V-twin. So Jaguar were being kind of forced into doing something with the Daimler brand that they bought. I think it was Stratstone dealerships were saying, well, either you do something with Daimler or we're going to do something with other brands. And so they took their Mk2 Jaguar body, and to make a Daimler variant of it, they dropped in the Daimler 2.5 litre, which had previously been in the Dart. It was a little bit modified from that, but they dropped that in. Had to give it a different transmission. The engine was much further back in the car because it's a much smaller engine, and had to mate with the automatic gearbox. And being Daimler, needed a smooth, more luxurious ride than the sort of snarly, sporty Jaguar. And this is it. Just taking it for a little ride out, just to see what it's like, really. I've driven a Mk2 Jaguar. It was a 3.8, much like the one I featured in the previous video. And it was, I was blown away. It was amazing. It's just a lovely ride. I went on a classic car day where you drive 5 different classic cars in a row, and just before I'd driven the Mk2, the 3.8 Mk2, I'd been in an E-Type, and to be honest, I felt the E-Type was a little bit white knuckle. It's that iconic car. It's a real beast, and just sort of trying to wrestle it round the roads. It was in mid-Wales, kind of mid-Wales, Worcestershire way. Trying to wrestle it round those roads was something else. But then when you got into the Mk2, even though it had similar power, similar engine, it was just that little bit more refined and a little bit more easy handling. And I just loved it. And I don't think there was any real contest in terms of power versus comfort. So this is definitely a different drive. This isn't steering the gearbox, kind of keeping the revs up. This is much more about puttering along, almost wafting along. There's speed bumps again here, and you can feel them, but there's no jolting, there's no jarring. It's a really smooth ride. Okay, just looking at the fuel gauge, there's kind of nothing in it, so I think I'm going to turn around and go back now. You just never know with classic cars whether there is fuel in there, whether the fuel gauge is working or what. So best get back to the unit before anything untoward happens. That would not be particularly good. There's not much of an engine noise. As I said, you can tell that it is a V8. It's just a kind of a soft woofling kind of noise that you're getting from down below, rather than anything snarly or raspy. So very, very pleasant, and actually, now that I'm relaxed into it a little bit more, although still a little bit nervous on the fuel, as I'm relaxing into it, it just feels leisurely, feels nice and comfortable. Getting a few looks from people coming past, why wouldn't you? These are beautiful cars, whether they're Daimler form or Jaguar form. These are cracking looking cars. So I can open it up a little bit on this straight. Again, progressive power delivery. It's not quick, it's not urgent, there's no instancy. It's a very much kind of quite lazy, but that's fine. You're not in a hurry if you're in one of these. You have to kind of be in the, all the time in the world scenario. This one's just going through the auction on the market.co.uk. I think it finishes tonight actually. I don't know what it's currently bid. Maybe I can put that in a caption. But yeah, ends tonight. And yeah, very nice example. And wish I had a garage to be able to store something like this in. Because actually, these Daimlers are going to be way cheaper than the equivalent Mk2 Jaguar. I think I worked out there's something like £10,000 difference typically in terms of price for kind of equivalent models. So very good value, great value classic. And if you then want to go Jaguar after this, so be it, or maybe get both if you've got the room and you've got the money. The strange thing is when I put the other video up and that sort of started taking off, it was actually Daimler that was attracting people to see it, not the Jaguar Mk2. Obviously people have seen Jaguar Mk2s all over the place in Endeavour and in Inspector Morse and the like, not to mention things like the Sweeney and any kind of 60s based gangster thing or crime drama, but not so many people see the 250, the Daimler, and there was a real interest in the Daimler, and reading the comments on the other video, lots of people knew someone who had a Daimler or had a Daimler themselves, and fundamentally most people who had the Daimler wanted the Daimler rather than the Jaguar. It was their preference, and you can kind of understand why. So in the other video I did in the end plump for the Jaguar because it was a 3.8, it was modified as well, so it was pretty raughty, but I can equally see the appeal of these. Well, here I am, I'm back at the unit, and time to pop this one away, and I'll see what else there is that I can take out and do a little video on. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you like what you see.